It's the same for everybody. I know last year some drivers did use the shorter top gear to get more revs on the straight, but it wears the engine.
Yeah, and you can hear it, can't you? I mean, it's an audible thing. Even on TV, sometimes you can hear the cars bouncing away on the rev limiter. And surely it's got to be an issue over a longer race, especially on a hot day, perhaps. Definitely.
I'm particularly in the slipstream here. If you're following a car and it's making the hole in the air for you, your rev's going to be even higher, and it really does do the engine harm, over a long race, definitely.
Now we look there at Di Grassi. He seems to have got a bit of momentum going now. It looks like he had that result in Turkey last time out, which certainly boosted his confidence, but he also had a drive-through as a result of contact with the poleman Pantano, and there was a bit of a war of words afterwards.
It was. Well, it's going to be a good race this afternoon anyway, but it just got a bit of extra added spice on top because, as you said, Di Grassi took Pantano out of the sprint race at Istanbul 2 weeks ago, and Pantano was not a happy man, justifiably, and he said, Di Grassi's made an enemy this afternoon. He's made an enemy of me. If he expects help in the championship from now on, forget it. And I think down to the first turn it could be quite interesting.
This man has been so impressive on his return to GP2. Adam Carroll taking over the seat from Antonio Pizzonia, and 2 wins already this season. He seemed to look like he was on for a really good result in qualifying. Had a little bit of a spin during the session, which hurt his position a little bit, but still an awesome performance so far this year from Adam.
Yeah, he's done a great job, hasn't he? Really great job. I mean, he actually had a couple of spins this weekend, one in free practice and one in qualifying. Both of them came right after he just done his best lap of the day, so obviously was in both cases trying to just eke that little bit more out of the car and just overstep the mark, but he's done a brilliant job and been a real boost for the team too. I mean, they were struggling with Pizzonia and I think feeling fairly down on things, and Adam stepped into Pizzonia's seat and he's just been absolutely fantastic
on it from the outset. Now you can see just how close it is between Glock and Di Grassi, but look, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, only 4 points between Pantano in 3rd and Carroll down in 6th. And again, just to highlight how well Adam Carroll's done to be doing that. I mean, he came in at Manicure and in the second half of the season you wondered, had he started the season, where we would be in the championship now.
Exactly. I mean, he missed, what, the first third of the year? I mean, that's an awful lot of time to miss, isn't it? And as you say, he's really hauled himself up into contention for probably 3rd place in the overall standings at the end of the year. So that really underlines what a great job he's done.
There's a couple of drivers that have got Formula 1 experience. Pantano, the obvious one on pole position, having raced a full season for Jordan in Formula 1. But you've also got guys like Adam Carroll who've spent time testing. He was test driver at BAR Honda. How relevant is it when you go back from Formula 1 into a formula like this, which is still incredibly quick cars, 600 horsepower V8 engines, high level of downforce and grip compared to, say, Formula 3, for example? How much does it help having done Formula 1 for these guys?
I think it actually makes things quite difficult. I think on 2 levels. First of all, on the pure driving the car level, you're stepping from a car, from an F1 car back into a GP2 car. A GP2 car's got a lot less grip than an F1 car and a lot less grunt. And stepping back and making that sort of you change of mind back from one to the other is actually very difficult. It takes sometimes a couple of sessions in the GP2 car to get back up to pace again. And also, inevitably, when a driver comes back from F1 testing, he's got his F1 head on, and he's really had his head turned by being in the F1 paddock and being in the F1 car and just being at the level that he aspires to be at permanently. And coming back into GP2 can be quite difficult to do, and I think 1 or 2 drivers do struggle with that.
Now, one of the cars just going out of our shot, there was gravel bouncing out from underneath the floor pan, so I wonder if somebody couldn't quite see where that was. It looked like possibly one of the Arden cars. Certainly it was a dark coloured car, and it was in the middle of the grid, so it could have been Senna and Zaug are similarly positioned grid-wise. Zaug starting at grid 9, Senna off grid 14. Another couple of drivers we haven't mentioned yet, somebody who's also had a great run in the middle of the season is Kazuki Nakajima. Really started to get some momentum going, but again a little bit of a rush of blood to the head in Turkey with the contact with Karan Chandok.
Well, I think he's a very quick driver, Nakajima, and time and again I've said that, and I was really pleased to see for the most part of the season he's knocked off the rough edges that were apparent at the start of the year, but he did let me down last time out, and a real rash move on poor old Karan Chandok that took both of them out the race on the sprint race on Sunday morning in Istanbul.
Yeah, Chandok was looking good certainly for a podium. Whether he would have been able to maintain the pace to the end, he was adamant he would. As you can see there, the guys down looking on. Very tense time for the teams, for the mechanics, the engineers, everybody. Look at the low downforce setup there. You can look at the rear wing there, Gareth. You can see how low they've positioned that wing for Monza.
Exactly. I mean, basically that's minimum downforce, which is on a one-off lap in qualifying, that's one thing, but to sustain that over 32 laps of this place on a hard compound tyre, it's hard work.
It's going to be a crucial situation into this first chicane, into the Variante del Rettifilo. We've always seen drivers falling over each other there. It's quite easy for somebody to for the race to be over almost before it's begun going into that chicane. So I'm going to watch with interest who's going to get the break at the start. Pantano's done it before, a double winner here last time we were at Monza. He's certain he wants to maintain that challenge and to try to consolidate that third, still possibly even a chance of getting second, but the man alongside him, Lucas Di Grassi, has got everything to play for today. He's got to maintain that position. Is he going to play it safe, or is he going to go for the win, Gareth?
If I was him, I'd play it safe. I mean, his main rival Glock is way behind him on the grid, so just make sure you get points.
5 lights are on, the drivers hold the cars on the rev limiter, and it's a good start from Pantano from the right hand side. The yellow flags are waving, somebody stalled on the grid. Di Grassi's got away well, and looks like Petrov managing to maintain third. Nakajima moving around in the slipstream, little puff of smoke there, a big lock up from somebody in the background that looked like one of the, I think it was Javier Villa there, maybe locking up in the middle. Big sideways there from Nakajima and a spinner. That does look like, is that?
It's one of the Red Bull cars,
isn't it? Red Bull cars, isn't it?
Can't see who it is, but
looks like Zaug, I think. And there's a big. Now look at this. What this has done for Pantano. He's got a great breakaway. You can see this toe you were talking about here, Gareth. There, Sandy Negrão under big pressure. It looks now like Filippi down the inside, very late on the brakes. Can he get that done side by side? And they just managed to eke it out. Well, that was a good bit of driving by both of them to avoid each other, Gareth.
It was. I mean, he made a great lunge, didn't he? And Negrão was having none of it. But Pantano got an absolutely superb start, didn't he? Nobody was slow off the line. Pantano just flew off the line.
You see how sideways he was over the curb there. This is what you were saying about the low downforce setup on harder tyres. Nakajima jinks out alongside Petrov. He's got to run, but into Ascari. That's going to be very, very difficult. But he maybe has got it done before. Yeah, he has. Great move.
It's important to get it done before the turn because you can get a clean exit through Ascari and onto the back straight. It's a real key part of the circuit. There's get a clean exit from here. It's a long straight.
Now we saw yellows there as Petrov runs very, very wide, waving his hand there. Is not happy with Nakajima. The yellows are out. It's obviously safety car for that incident on the first lap. Now this is a gutting situation for Pantano.
Yeah, he's done all that work, hasn't he, to open up a good lead and actually break the toe to Di Grassi, and now that's gone.
So Marcos Martinez is starting from the pit lane. Didn't see the drama that occurred there. One of the DPR cars, Olivier Pla, making his return to the series, having been out of racing. Well, he's racing in a Porsche Super Cup, but not at this level. Very disappointed. Didn't qualify particularly well. Has been testing the 2008 car, Gareth.
He has, yeah. He was out at Ricard last week, actually, with a brand new 2008 car. Just looking at the monitor, Simon, I can see that poor old Mike Conway is out yet again on the first lap of a race.
And Zaug,
unbelievable.
Again. Zaug's luck's been, well, Zaug and Glock have basically been the, if there was an award this season for people who get the...
I think Conway would have a shout for that as well. I think that's probably the 5th or 6th race that he's not gone past the first lap, which is incredible. He just gets involved in silly incidents, unfortunately.
I mean, it's amazing, really, isn't it, at Monza, because we've all watched all kinds of motorsport here over the years, whether it's 2 wheels, 4 wheels, Formula 1, touring cars. There you can see poor Adrian Zaug. He's such a charming young man, a very, very quiet South African driver, made such a splash when he first tested in GP2. He's also been racing for his nation in A1GP with success as well. And this is a chance to... We had a similar situation in Turkey, Gareth, for the teams to get in and get this stop done early.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can't come in until 2 laps are up, so not until the 2-lap mark has passed does the pit lane open. Now it depends how long this stoppage is going to be. Really, it's a case of pushing some cars out their ways, and there's no shunt to clear up, so it should be a very short stoppage, I think.
Yeah, what we were saying basically is that you watch this situation unfold almost every time you watch a race of some sort of Monza.
That's right.
You'd think that somebody would be sitting and thinking to themselves, right, all I've got to do is just stay out of trouble. Let's have a look again. Talk us through the start, Gareth.
Pantano got a great start, didn't he? And Di Grassi wasn't away badly, but just Pantano got away so well, it made everyone else look silly. You see Nakajima already on the attack there, looking for a way past, getting frustrated and held back. On board here with Mike Conway, I think, Filippi, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh, contact as well.
So who was that alongside of, I wonder? You can see Negrão, so...
I think it was Negrão, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, Negrão's just in front, so somebody to the right could have been one of the racing engineering cars. I think VA maybe. Now let's have a look. You can see Nakajima gets sideways. It looked like there Zaug got turned round by Villa. It was Villa that turned him round, I think. Nothing he could do about that, unfortunately. Poor old Adrian Zaug. Got a whack from behind. Villa goes one way, and you can see one of the Durango cars clattering through the gravel. I think it's Garcia as well. So, well, very, very disappointing. I mean, in terms of the championship, really, those guys aren't too significant. But what's happened to Timo Glock? You just noticed?
Yeah, he's done his 17th place. I think we saw him go through the gravel on the restart there. Oh, sorry, on the first corner. So he's done his 17th place.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to go racing again And it is going to be Giorgio Pantano leading away at the restart. He gets a brilliant restart and edges away now from Di Grassi, sitting there comfortably in second. Is there going to be a move now? Negrão looking maybe like he's under pressure and behind.
Oh, it's one of the Durango cars, maybe? Difficult to tell from just that, isn't it?
Garcia.
But yeah, Garcia, yeah.
Well,
I was just got a comment, sorry, someone on the on whoever's left that huge gap down in 7th or 8th place. Just somebody was obviously fast asleep when the pace car went in, and they've lost a good 100 yards to the car in front. It's inexcusable.
Yeah, now Glock in early now. This is
that makes sense.
Could be significant, couldn't it? Because we had the opposite situation in Turkey, where it was Zuber that got the stop of the 2 iSport cars, and it really hurt Glock's chances of victory.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And basically, we saw Glock go through the gravel during that sort of first lap shunt there, and he got away with it, but it cost him a lot of places. So he was down in 17th. No point in staying out there and getting stuck in traffic. Get in, get your obligatory pit stop out the way, and get out and basically attack the race for the remaining 30 laps.
Also saw Javi Villa coming in for his stop. Didn't look like there was any damage on the car, so presumably that contact with Zaug was relatively light. But already Pantano has started to eke away a little bit of a gap. There you can see Garcia. Well, his nose had been knocked off, and obviously as he turned into the first part of the Lesmos there, that was underneath the car and just lifted the car off the ground.
Yeah, decent sized hit actually, wasn't it?
This is that move from Felipe on the first lap. It was so late on the brakes, really did hang on in there, but
I think that's a new one we haven't seen actually, isn't it? Yeah, that's him actually going past Negrão by the look of it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm surprised Negrão wasn't kicked to that one.
See that one
because he had that one before now. Somebody coming out after their stop. That looks like, is that Harati? Could be Kohei Harati, I think. Looks like
stay out of the way.
Oh, filters back into the middle of the pack there.
Grassi will be furious with that. Absolutely furious.
There's some probably some very colourful Portuguese language said in the cockpit of that ART car. But fair play, Harati's out the way quickly. It's allowed a bit of momentum there for Nakajima to get a bit of a run.
He's right with him, isn't he? Right in the slipstream of Di Grassi.
In fact, it's Carroll. Carroll's got through. It's Adam Carroll that's got past Nakajima there in the Petrol Effici car. So
no, I don't think I think Carroll, I'm sure Carroll's actually pitted. Carroll's gone for an early pit stop.
Yeah, my mistake. You're absolutely right, Gareth. Sorry about that. It's the red and white cars and the sun glinting off the crescent we call us out there.
It is confusing. It is confusing.
But there it is now, still Pantano. We look at that gap he's got, and everybody really using that curbing quite a lot there. Now Senna looks like he's made a little bit of time out, obviously possibly as a result of the stops there, but looking like he has got a good bit of momentum going. Bruno Senna, the Brazilian, enjoying racing at Monza. Oh, a big runoff there.
Luca Filippi just getting it wrong, just going into the turn just too quickly and just understeered straight off. Got away with it in terms of damage, but it's cost him quite a few places.
What do you think that was? Just simply outbraked himself?
Yeah, I think just took too much speed in. Ascari, it was a quick chicane. You've got to take good speed in, but not that much speed in. And that's Senna going backwards.
Was that Harati coming past him? There's a sort of a lap behind, so it would have been interesting to see if that was it was Harati getting.
You're right, it was, yeah.
So it looked like maybe I think Senna just made a mistake. Harati unlapped himself effectively, and Senna went back through. Now Senna back very, very late on the brakes. Is that a little bit of damage on the end plate there?
Possibly, yeah. It's just the bottom tape hanging off, isn't it?
Yeah, nearly running very, very wide there, and looks like that's allowed Buemi to get a bit of momentum behind him. Young Sebastian Buemi, the Swiss driver, is coming. He was so impressive on his debut at Monaco. Qualified performance, awesome.
He's up the inside there, isn't he? He was, but he's not really recreated that ever since then.
Oh, contact! That was Harati trying to come back online, Gareth, and looked like just turned himself around.
You know, when you're a lap down, you've an obligation to stay out of the way, to be honest with them. When the guys are trying to race each other, get out of the way and just tuck in behind them when they've done their bit. That was out of order, and I'm afraid he deserved that. And I hope he hasn't damaged the car he touched.
Yeah, I think it was Senna, wasn't it, that was coming back round on. Let's have another look again here, Gareth. Talk us through it.
Particularly to see what happened, isn't it? But Harati's just coming across as though he doesn't even realise that Buemi's on the inside. He's just coming across and squeezing Buemi towards the grass. Buemi quite rightly keeps his boot in and luckily gets away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking Buemi was going to do. I mean, all I can assume that he was hoping. There you can see Felipe got so close to the back of Petrov there that he just had to check up. Have a look at it again,
yeah, he's lining himself up to get a good exit, isn't he, to get a good tow, and he just misjudged it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're ideally trying to time it so you're picking up the throttle earlier than the guy in front to get momentum, but obviously what he's done there is he timed it a bit too well.
That's right. Unfortunately, what the car in front does, it makes the hole in the air, but it does mean that as you turn into the corner, your front wings are not working as efficiently as they might do because they haven't got the airflow over them. So he's turned and he's just asked too much of the car and it's just ploughed straight on.
Now we hear about this in Formula One a lot, where you talk about the drivers not being able to get too close to each other to overtake. And how much of a scenario is that in GP2? And you were saying about low downforce here, compared to some of the other circuits you get to. As you can see here now, Negrão under big pressure from Felipe, and Felipe's a man on a mission at the moment.
Well, these two have been on hammer and tongs for a couple of laps now, haven't they? Sort of after you, swapping places each lap. Negrão's in front now.
It looks always to me like Zanzi Negrão has got definitely got some natural ability in there, but it's a matter of which Zanzi Negrão turns up, isn't it? You get the one that's pretty damn quick and the one that's sort of not really on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in his third year of GP2 now, and really you would expect him to be doing a better job than he is. You know, we occasionally see him at the front, and I think this is his third consecutive race he's qualified in the top 7. So he's getting some semblance of consistency there, but it's the first sort of we've seen of it in 3 years.
Well, interesting as well, obviously having Nelson Piquet Jr. as a teammate the previous season would have been a benefit, surely, but maybe not so much with Rodriguez. So Rodriguez, obviously, you know, as his teammate, is less experienced. So, you know, perhaps they're not being able to drive each other in terms of the technical setup of the car.
I think that may be right. I mean, obviously having Piquet is good and bad, because the guy is super quick, and to keep pace with him is very difficult. But by the same token, you do get dragged along. But these 3 results we've had, or these 3 qualifying results from the last few races, are the best we've seen in Negrão on a consistent basis. So maybe he's finally taken 3 years, but he's got there in the end.
Yeah, Rosati there in the top 10. That's quite a good performance so far from him still, and Niemöller as well. Obviously, it looks like a benefit of not having stopped, probably.
Yeah, it's that obviously you got the jumble up of the first turn incident, and also the pit stop, so the grid is a bit topsy-turvy at the moment.
Yeah, Bruno Senna coming out after his stop, carefully avoiding exceeding the pit lane speed limit. Easily done, such a long pit lane at Monza. But Pantano now just over 3 seconds the lead that he's got now. It just looks like he's got into a groove that is working so well. Do you think with this kind of situation where he's got such good performance, it's going to be a call that he's going to run as long as possible?
I would think so. That would make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, he's on the hard compound tyre. They all are, but obviously what I mean by that is the hard compound tyre will go for a long time before the performance starts to drop off significantly. And B, he's in clear air, you know, and the car is clearly working very well. His lap times now, he's in mid-32s, 1 minute 32s. The rest of the field, including those guys, in fact, Adam's just on a 32.8, Adam Carroll 32.8, but everybody else in the 33s and 34s. So clearly the car's working very well. He's getting away from Di Grassi behind him quite comfortably. Why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stay out there and keep banging in the fast laps and opening your lead up. All you do by stopping now or soon is drop yourself back into traffic.
Yeah, and you're going to get risk getting caught up if there is a safety car.
That's right.
It could really ruin your race. Now, in comes Luca Filippi. He was on a great run. Now, this is the converse of what we were just talking about. Filippi's come in. He was obviously getting stuck behind Negrão. So, do you think that's the call that the Supernova guys have made?
Definitely. I mean, he was losing time, wasn't he? He was embroiled in a scrap with Negrão and slowing both of them down, really, and that's to no one's benefit. So, get away from that, get your tyres on, and try and find a bit of clear air to actually get some fast laps in. And really, you know, at the end of the race, that will pay dividends.
Also, with a team as experienced as Supernova, you've obviously raced for Supernova. You know the guys really, really well there. They know also how to mind manage drivers. You wonder that there was a sense of desperation a bit about Felipe a couple of times, where he's thinking, "I'm so much quicker than this guy. I've got to get past." And you wonder maybe whether that was a factor. The team was seeing how he was getting a bit stressed by the whole thing, and maybe that was a call as well.
Yeah, I mean, there still is to a point. I know in qualifying, I think general consensus is he didn't do as good a job as he could have done. I think the car was capable of much better than fourth row, and he just overdrove it. He just had it by the scruff of the neck, and instead of getting the best out of the car, he was just trying too hard.
Looks like he let Nakajima through.
Well, I think he's on cold tyres, isn't he? And he's struggling to keep Nakajima behind. Nakajima obviously has done his pit stop early, as he always. In fact, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. What am I talking about? Yes, he has pitted. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to say Nakajima normally pits very early during the race. That's his kind of modus operandi. He gets in lap 3, lap 4, gets his new tyres on, and gets out. And he's done that today. So his tyres have got a good temperature in them. Filippi hasn't, and the hard compound again takes a lot longer to get up to temperature than with the medium or the soft compound. So basically, I think he wanted to keep Nakajima behind. He had no option.
And also that's got to be a factor with the nature of the circuit as well, because you've got relatively few corners compared to somewhere like Hungary, because you're not actually working the tyres relatively as hard as you would be at a twisty circuit. Negrão finally comes in. That would have been nice from Felipe's point of view if that was a lap earlier, I think.
It's just what I was thinking. No, it's funny. I mean, it's to do with the tyres again. I mean, on a circuit like this, they do get worked very hard. It's the fact that it's slow slide. You got so little grip. They just slide around a lot and get worked hard.
And Negrão filters into the traffic. So the car's charged down into the Rettifilio chicane. You can see there the blue and white car of one of the Durango cars under pressure then from the Minardi PK Sports car just behind. Can't quite see who those two guys are at this stage. That looks like, must be Chandok, obviously.
Yes, Chandok
was in the wall.
And Rodriguez,
Answer my own question. But Chandok and Rodriguez. Rodriguez is another one a bit like Negrão. You're not really quite sure where he is in terms of his level.
Well, he's only done, this is his third race in GP2. The first one was unfortunate. He actually failed to qualify through no fault of his own. By the sounds of it, was a mechanical problem with the car, so he failed to qualify, which didn't do him any favours. But the two races since then, he's actually done reasonably well. I think unproven, but obviously very early days. Someone off in the gravel.
Is that Degrassi or is that Buemi?
Yeah.
There's your cold tyres for
exactly. We just seen Buemi during the break having a pit stop, and that's exactly what's happened. He's come out, he's pushed too hard, inexperienced as well. Don't forget, he's only done a handful of races in GP2. There's Degrassi, and that's what he's done. Pushed too hard, cold tyres, and off into the gravel, and got away with it by the look of it.
Yeah. Now his teammate Degrassi coming out. Now we're going to see where he filters back into the order. Where he is relative to Glock. That's the interesting one, isn't it?
It is. Glock now is down 18th place. Pantano's just done 32.3 his lap time, and everybody else in the 33, so that is very quick.
Yeah, I think a couple of them lower down the order, just creeping in there. I can see Petrov in for his stop. Didn't look a particularly good stop.
No,
again, a bit of a drama with the rear wheel. There's not usually too much of a problem in terms of some Formula we've seen have problems with hubs and things like that, but GP2 seems to have been okay for that sort of.
Yeah, you get the very occasional one, but it's not a design issue. It's just nervous fingers, I think, is the usual problem.
Yeah, finger trouble as it used to be called. Pressure on for the mechanics as much as for the drivers, obviously. It's interesting. Certain teams have an approach where they'll go out and practice and practice and practice. Other teams think, well, without the pressure of a real stop, we might as well just do it when it matters. And I think if nothing else, it just checks all the equipment's working, doesn't it?
Yeah, if I was a driver, I'd rather go practicing, to be honest with you.
Definitely, yeah. It's always interesting. You see sometimes the drivers opt out of the practice pit stops. I think you see some of the more focused guys, they'll happily sit in the car for hours on end while they do the practice stops just to make sure they're all part of it. But now as you're coming into coming down the back straight towards the famous parabolic, interesting. Monza have been around since 1922, and this is the corner that has not been touched in all of those 85 years. It's identical, the same piece of tarmac that Fangio and everybody from way back to the Novellari era right up to now would have driven through. And an interesting challenge. It looks like one of those corners you've really got to balance the entry speed carefully.
It's a very tricky corner. It kind of, I mean, it makes the car understeer. The layout of the corner makes the car understeer. So you want to get hard on the power, and you just can't, because if you do, the nose pushes on, and before you know it, you're on the grass.
Now we're either board with Pantano. It really does look like he's got it all under control in terms of his lap times are so consistent. It's often the way, Gareth, with a car and driver working so well together. The times come so easily because everything's working well. You get into a rhythm, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it's quite often that when the car's quick, it's when it's easiest to drive.
Definitely. These two are having a good old scrap, aren't they? Ran the outside there, a bit of contact.
Yeah, that was Nakajima being Nakajima, basically, I think, as he has been, as you said earlier.
Scrapping with Philippi, isn't he? Yeah. Well, Philippi's getting involved in some fights this afternoon.
Yeah, and definitely, as you said earlier, I mean, he was very quick. You were saying earlier, we were chatting about it on when he did a heavy fuel run in qualifying. He really was class of the field in terms of performance.
That's right, he was, and I think he just needs to sort of get himself away from these little fights. You know, we saw him with Negrão scrapping, now he's with Nakajima. If he can get some clear air, I think he would actually do some really good lap times, but very brave. We saw him go around the outside of Curvo Grande. That's how it's happened, and Nakajima's been a mess of the chicane, the Rettifilio, and now Filippi goes around the outside all the way around Curvo Grande, just duking it out together.
Well, that does take some bravery, doesn't it? That's the sort of corner where you've got to... You can see there's a relatively small input in there in terms of the steering input.
Yeah.
So obviously the car's working very well through there. You can usually tell from an onboard shot the cars that aren't doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, that corner's actually pretty comfortably flat. But the biggest concern for him would have been being wheel-to-wheel with Nakajima. He's one of those drivers who you're never quite sure you can trust completely.
Yeah, there are certain drivers you always have a second look at. You can see now as De Grassi does a very neat move there. I
think he's gone past Niemöller, isn't he? Who hasn't pitted yet.
Marcus Niemöller, the unfinished driver. Big jump up from Formula Renault. Has been racing in the Formula Renault Euro Series this year. Also, mid-season, so limited on testing, and you can't really underestimate. He's a good driver. I watched him race in Britain last year, and he won a race at Alton Park in Formula Renault in the rain. Now, whilst Formula Renault is a great proving ground, it's brought us people like Kimi Räikkönen and Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa all coming from that route. It's a bit of a jump to 600 horsepower, isn't it?
It is, and joining GP2 mid-season is very difficult because GP2 is limited on testing for the drivers anyway. That most testing is done in the pre-season and the early part of the season. So to join at this stage of the year is very, very hard, and you don't get the mileage you need to do it, do yourself justice, really.
Yeah. Now, Chanduk there, you can see in the top 10 just behind Senna, ahead of Rodriguez, Zuber and Glock, 12th and 14th respectively. Now, does this mean that race pace-wise iSport are struggling?
I think it probably means partly that, but I think probably means he's stuck in traffic. I mean, Glock's last lap was a 33.1, but actually pretty quick, and Zuber's was 33 dead. That's amongst the quickest out there. If you take Pantano out of the equation, who's banging in low 32s at the moment. That's actually a pretty quick time, but they're just stuck in so much traffic. So that's the penalty of stopping early. I think it was Felipe again.
As you're getting this one done by the looks of things, it's a tricky one to do, isn't it? Holding it to the right there, potentially obviously going to get the run out of Parabolica, but that means that you could lose, as we talk about, Timo Glock perfectly on cue. There he is, struggling a little bit in terms of being able to make much progress. So what's going to be the approach? Is he going to be able to find some time as we look into the latter half? Still some pit stops, obviously, but they're starting to get a bit spaced out.
Yeah, well, his main interest would be De Grassi, obviously, who's also pitted now. De Grassi is what?
Sorry, open tongue there, getting it caught up. Three abreast, they're getting caught up.
Zuber came out of that pretty well.
Yeah, Zuber did, didn't he? Turner Grau didn't come out of it. I wasn't Rodriguez coming out of it quite so well there. But yeah, either way, it was certainly a little bit of a situation where you don't want to be getting contact anywhere around Monza, but down very late. That was never going to work, really, was that? That was a real run hope for, wasn't it?
That was ridiculous, wasn't it? That was just never ever on. Never on. Rodriguez completely took his brain out then and just took Zuber off the track.
Well, do you think maybe he thought that Zuber was letting him through because it was so ridiculously late, the attempt that he made? It wasn't like a legitimate thought. I mean, we saw Felipe go very late on the brakes earlier on in the race, but that was almost like he came off the brakes. It looked like the car accelerated.
I think he committed to doing the manoeuvre and then realised, I'm not going to make this, by which time it was way too late.
Now, a little bit of contact here with Tung. Now, that wasn't significantly hard. It's unlikely it would have damaged the suspension.
Zuber gets a great run on them because they fall over themselves, and Zuber gets a clean run through. So he does the pair of them.
Yeah, Zuber probably giggling as he did that, I would imagine.
Yeah,
thanks,
thinking he's clear. And then up to through Credo Grande. He's just come from too far. Out of control. Look, Zuber turning in perfectly normally and clunk.
That was really well, what can you say? It was just didn't think it through at all, did he? And poor Zuber, it was absolutely helpless. Totally not his fault. Sometimes there is an argument when you see an incident like that for a 50-50, you say, well, maybe, he didn't see him. But that was just, the first he would have known about it was a massive whack in the side of the car.
Exactly. He was already in the corner, wasn't he? Safety car. Safety car going to be very interesting.
Whoa.
He's got a 40-second lead almost. He's doing the right thing. He's getting in now, get tyres on and get out again before the rest of the field catches up. He has got enough in hand. It feels so slow for him. You can see him talking on the radio there. He's got his thumb on the button and he's doing the Italian thing with the hands waving.
Very Latin that was.
Yeah. He has got enough time in hand to get in, get the tyres and get out before Rosati, who's actually running second, comes through. He's 37.8 seconds behind.
Well, it's a good situation from having Rosati there, but wonder whether Rosati is going to get his stop done as well. Well, that was a beautiful stop, perfectly timed. He just read that situation exactly correctly, didn't he, Gav?
Yeah, he did perfectly. I mean, there's always a worry, everything was going so easy, wasn't it? Everything was going so smoothly, and suddenly safety car could have thrown it all out the window. But it's all worked out pretty well for them, and there's the rest of the field coming through now.
And the irony of it is, were that not a safety car situation, it would have almost like increased his lead, I think, perhaps, which is because it was timed so well. As we saw, Di Grassi was caught up in a little bit of traffic, as in fact with the other quick guys around him. Felipe Negrão, in fact, seems to now have settled into a bit more of a rhythm. It looks like maybe he's got the car working to pace.
Yeah, you see we're on board here, the safety car. They're just waving the cars past now to go and follow Pantano through, because Pantano's so far up the road that the safety car hasn't picked him up.
Yeah, he's come out and just taken the well, in fact, I suppose there's an argument that now that's Rosati. Well, we talked about Rosati sitting there comfortably in second. Well,
he got away with that, didn't he? But that was pretty hairy.
Now there's a yellow flag waving. Now, was that the safety car yellow flag? Was that the Riccardo Rosati's just had a massive spin yellow flag?
I think he spun under yellows, didn't he? I think that's what he did. He may well have actually lifted sort of mid-corner when he saw the yellows, and that's what maybe caused the spin.
It was quite a high-speed thing.
Yeah.
It looked like he lost it on the way sort of through the second part of the corner, which is an unusual place to go off there. But as we were saying, the safety car would have quite possibly picked up Rosati or what would have been Rosati. Now you can see he has got Pantano in the correct position. On the likelihood that because Pantano came in, there was a possibility that Rosati would have realistically been the leader when they came back out. So it's a difficult call for the safety car drivers sometimes.
It is. It's very difficult. They're kind of really controlled by the control tower on the radio telling them what to do. But it is very hard for them to pick the right car up. The situation now we've got is basically Di Grassi is right with Pantano. I don't think that's too much of a threat. I mean, Pantano's been so quick this afternoon, and I think he'll have had a couple of laps behind the safety car on the safety car period to get heat in the tyres. If it was a situation where he just got his new tyres on, obviously Di Grassi's tyres are up to temperature, he'd have a big advantage, but I think Pantano should just have enough heat in those tyres to be okay.
Now Glock now into the top 10, so that's significant. Obviously one more position, that would give him the pole position slot for tomorrow's race. Now, is that his thinking? Do you think that's all he's consolidating for today?
Yeah, he'll need 8th place to take pole for tomorrow. I mean, currently he's showing on the monitor as 11th place. Rosati's still there, isn't he? We saw him spin but carry on, although he's going down the order at the moment.
No, so he's 9th now, which is what we're saying.
Yeah,
one more place,
right, exactly.
That would give him 8.
Yeah.
But because everybody's, I mean, look at Andy Susek. They've got to mention him. He's come from the back of the grid, having had a problem. He was saying that he just couldn't get on with the car yesterday, to the point where the technical delegates actually really went thoroughly over the car but couldn't find anything obvious from it. So perhaps psychologically they've checked it out. He's happy with it. Now, what have we got going on here? This is that Rodriguez incident once again with Zuber, and well, whatever angle you look at it, it was just ridiculous.
there's no excuse for that, is there?
No, I mean,
poor old Zuber.
I mean, you wonder if it looked like he was almost so busy watching Tung that at the last minute he jinked out to try and avoid Zuber and then just drove into the side of him.
Yeah, I think
that's being very generous, I think, Gareth, wouldn't you say?
I think he just totally misjudged it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a little bit hopeful, to say the least. Very unfortunate for Zuber. So the winners and losers so far, the top 4 drivers, top 5 drivers really, are guys that we would have expected to see there. Felipe's made a bit of progress. Negrão's done well as a result of petrol. Now petrol's dropped way back down to 16th. Didn't see what that may have been. He did have that problem with the pit stop, didn't he? Well, it was a tyre, I think, was causing him.
Yeah, his right rear got a bit sticky, didn't it, and gave them problems in the pit stops. But that's been an expensive mistake, isn't it? Because he came in 3rd for his tyres, and he's now running 16th. So that's been a big problem for him.
Now you'd think it wouldn't take too long to get this one sorted, because there wasn't any significant dramas other than a bit of gravel on the circuit. The car looked fairly easy to move, unless perhaps it was jammed in gear or something.
It does seem to be inordinately long, this safety car period, doesn't it? I mean, the lights are off on the car now, so we should be coming in now, so this is the point where we see them start racing again.
You noticed something last time with the safety car, Gareth, how that some of the drivers in the middle of the pack, about 6th, 7th down, just totally were asleep and just didn't call it. And obviously for the drivers behind them, they can't go until the guy in front's gone, so it's hugely frustrating.
It's infuriating. If you're on the ball, you're obviously not allowed to overtake before you pass the start-finish line, and some idiot ahead of you isn't watching, isn't realising the safety lights have gone off and the race is about to start again. It's so frustrating. It just means you lose, 100, 200 metres on the leaders. Yeah,
I mean, literally your race is done before you can do anything about it. And now, it did actually look like Di Grassi got the best of the restart there. Certainly got a little bit of momentum, and it looks almost like Pantano's thinking about going defensive. Neat and tidy as they go through. Glock thinking about a move on Susek. You would expect Glock to have pace on Susek, and is that Villa coming through on Buemi, I think it was. It looked like quite a neat move there. Now in the background here we can see Felipe having to defend from the ever aggressive Kazuki Nakajima. It certainly looks like he's lining up for a little bit of a go. Nearly did it before. Felipe gets the cross, but it looks like Nakajima's going to try it. He's going to do it around the outside. He misses out the last part of the chicane. Is there going to be a penalty for that?
I don't think so. I think only you get penalised if you benefit. I don't think he benefited there, and also he had no option really, did he? It was either that or crash.
Well, would you expect, if you were sitting there as Felipe, expect him to let you back through again? Is he going to stand his ground, as it were?
Who knows? We'll find out. If I was Felipe, I'd be wanting that, obviously, but...
well, the two drivers...
I expect to see it.
Yeah, those two drivers have given us a lot of entertainment so far, not just today, but throughout the season. But Felipe certainly, you know, he started the year with such promise with that win in Bahrain, and we are certainly looking at a real challenge. I remember talking to a bit of a moment there for... Now, is that Petrov getting sideways as well?
Buemi, I think, as well.
Buemi and Petrov at different incidents. And Petrov's moment's just going on forever, isn't it? It started about 2 corners ago. It's like a drift race, so he's sideways everywhere.
It lasted the length of a Ascari, that one.
Yeah, well, certainly kept him busy, wasn't it? And now a little bit of a look there from Tung down the inside there. Oh, who's that on the ground there? Suchek, I think. It is Andy Suchek. Oh, no. Big hit there. Now that was one of the racing engineering cars that took him out. They couldn't see who that was that hit him, but that was a hell of a hit,
That was
Gareth.
a big hit, wasn't it? Big hit. I mean, obviously the cars from behind are approaching blind. I mean, and there's no chance for yellow flags to come out. That was a big hit. That'll be a safety car period. No question.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, Senna there defending from Chanduk. Chanduk, a bit of grass as well. Takes across the front of Senna, and it looks like now Javi Villa, I think, is coming through. And was that Martinez?
It's Glock having to go as well behind, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry again, ladies and gentlemen. Just sun shining off the car, saw blue and a bit of a yellow crash on me. Wasn't quite sure who it was, but this is going to help Glock. Well, Suchek was in front of Glock at that stage, so that means we're going to see Suchek certainly in the top 7 or 8 for sure. But interesting. Still can't see who that was now. Who's that going off? That's one of the... Is that Nakajima? Looks like Nakajima's car that's had a moment. Yes, it is. Yep. Nakajima looks like he had a spin coming into the Lesmos. And gravel everywhere. Well, that's really... Well, behind the safety car again.
There's Suchek. So Suchek's out and walking okay. And what about the car that hit him?
Well, I'm wondering if that was Martinez. It looks like...
Well, Martinez is shown as stopped, you see.
Yeah, so let's have a look. Now, there's Suchek.
There's Suchek running very wide.
That's Glock coming through now. Let's have a look. Or was that Zuba, maybe?
I think you're right. I think that's Zuba. I think that's Andy Zuba.
Yeah, it could have been Zuba.
Yeah.
Is Zuba shown as stopped? Yes, he is. So
yeah, I think that's Zuba.
Right, now it's Javi Villa. In the background, you can see that's of Nakajima. Someone else off.
That was Suchek.
Oh, that's Suchek.
And that's Zuba.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
It wasn't it? Well, hopefully, it looked like it was just enough of a hit, sort of side pod, rather than square onto the cockpit.
Yeah, there's Nakajima spinning in front of Felipe, look.
Felipe laughing to himself, probably thinking that's one less driver
at last
to worry
he's gone,
about.
yeah.
We can see there what happened initially with that moment. That was Carroll having that big spin. It was Adam Carroll, most uncharacteristic for the Northern Irishman, and it looked like he was trying to defend, but also give the guy on the inside a little bit of room. And in doing that, got onto all the marbles, and that's what caused Adam to get a bit sideways on the way in. Now, you said earlier that, Gareth, that corner is one that's prone to causing understeer, so it's quite possible you pitch the car in maybe to try to reduce that.
Exactly right. It's funny you should say that. I was watching the Formula 1 qualifying earlier on, and I was in-car shot with Barrichello. He did exactly that opposite. The car was understeering like a pig, so he was actually flicking it in on the apex to get it to oversteer a bit, which obviously is not the way to drive it, but if the car is rubbish, then that's what you got to do.
Yeah, you're inducing a situation with the setup of the car. So what it basically now means that it's looking for Pantano. He's got to get another good restart. Degrassi got a pretty good restart last time. In fact, it was looking like, he nearly had enough momentum to perhaps have a look at Pantano. But whether he's got the actual race pace is going to be questionable. But Chanduk there looking like a top 6 is quite likely for him. You can see what it was, Zuba. Look at the state of that car. Well,
okay, thankfully.
Last time out in Turkey, we saw Zuba having a move on Rodriguez, which ended up with him wrecking the chassis of his car, and the team having to do an all-nighter and actually borrow a tub from BCN. And it looks like he's looking at his leg. I wonder if he got a bash on the leg from a wishbone or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised. That was a really big hit, wasn't it? And I'd be very surprised if he's not done a chassis again. That was a big whack.
Right, you can imagine the sense of resignment in the pits there for the ice sport boys, thinking, here we go again. I mean, absolutely. He didn't even have a chance to lift, I would think, Gareth.
Not at all, not at all. He would have been completely blind, you see, and he just pulls straight in front of him.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have probably seen him with about 3 seconds to spare and would have hoped that he wouldn't have rejoined like that, and as he was hoping that's exactly what he did.
Well,
he just cut across his bows.
See the back shot from Villa looking at Nakajima's. The other thing also, when you see it from that angle, it makes you grimace, doesn't
it?
When
horrendous.
we're sitting here watching that. But also the other thing is that, you know, for a driver in that situation, as we look at the ART guys wondering whether De Grassi's going to get the restart, is that, you know, from a racing driver's perspective, that you can't, there's no way you're going to stop. So your only option is to try and swerve to avoid it, keep your foot hard down, and hope that the spinning car doesn't spin into your path, basically.
That's right. I mean, in Souček's defence, he's not in control there. You know, he's trying to coax the car away from the gravel and away from the barrier, but apart from that, he's not really in control. So when it rejoins the tarmac, he can't control the way the car shot across then. So there's no blame attached to him, really. It was just an unfortunate incident, but from Zuba's point of view, you know, a big hit, and he would have, like I said, you would have just seen him coming for probably 2 to 3 seconds, but certainly no way you could have done anything about it. And as you said, you can't just stop or turn. You've got to try and coax the car around what's going to happen, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah, so it's a reflex reaction, Gareth, isn't it, in that situation? There's only so much you can do in the space that you've got. Such a high-speed section, well, virtually everywhere's high speed at Monza, but particularly exit speed-wise, they're going to be up to well over 130 miles an hour at that point of the
definitely.
circuit. So now let's look and see what's settled down in terms of the championship challenge. Now, earlier on we talked about not just the obvious challenge at the front between Glock and De Grassi. Now, points-wise at the moment, as it stands, Lucas De Grassi is going to be taking 8 points from it, and Timo Glock is going to be taking 2 points.
Yep.
So De Grassi is going to take the championship lead if things continue as they are.
Which is what happened last weekend, actually, wasn't it? De Grassi took it off of Glock during the feature race on the Saturday, and then Glock took it back from De Grassi on the sprint race on the Sunday. And the way the grid is tomorrow, at the moment, we'll have Glock on the front row. Different angle here, isn't it? That's Adam Carroll going off.
Yeah, he did actually shunt in the end, did Adam? Which I mean, look, again, you can see he's trying to duke it out there with
Buemi, isn't it?
Yeah. Goes in a little bit
just got
offline.
away from him. Yeah.
Goes in a bit offline, tries to turn the car in quite hard, but also because he's offline, obviously he's having to sort of hesitate on where he would normally commit the car.
That's right. Well, he's on the dirt, isn't he? There's a bit of dirt and dust on the outside, and the marbles from the F1 particularly. I mean, obviously GP2 put marbles down, but the F1 tyres chunk like nothing else. So he's on the bit of dirt on the outside. He's slightly offline, and once you get sideways on that kind of surface, it's not coming back.
Now, safety car lights off. We're going to be starting again at the end of this lap. Pantano's got most of the work done, but the important bit, obviously, is the last part of the race. Again, the question is, does De Grassi go for the win? Does he go for gold, or is he going to take a more considered approach? Certainly doesn't look like Pantano. Well, considered approach and De Grassi. I see you giggling there.
Actually, I was thinking more about him and Pantano, the relationship since Istanbul. Actually, I think maybe it might be wise just to be circumspect.
Yeah, I wonder if the boys at ART are on the radio saying something along those lines.
Yeah,
remember that he's not your friend.
It'd be worthwhile remembering that.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh, there's a growl there coming. Maybe not warmed the brakes up enough properly there, and he was having a go at trying it all at the last moment, but it does look like it's going to be Pantano who gets the break. In behind that, Glock has definitely got momentum on Senna. The yellow flag still waved, but when they cross the line, now they get the run, and it does look like as they charge down into the chicane, it is going to be Felipe that gets the run. Senna is having a little look at Chandok, and in turn Glock is thinking about what's going to unfold in front of him. Behind that, you can see Hoping Tung having a better run than of late. Nakajima now down in 10th after that spin, but Glock now he's going for it. He's trying to get that move done on Senna. Has got enough momentum perhaps, but Senna cleverly moves across just in time. And Glock again has got to think this through. Is he going to go for it, or is he going to settle down for a manoeuvre there? Nearly had the same sort of situation, but well, there he backed out of it just about in time. Tung, we were just saying he had a great run going, and unfortunately for the Chinese driver, not really working out as planned. Again, could be just cold tyres. What do you think?
I think so. I think that's certainly a factor. Obviously, during a safety car period, the tyres do cool, particularly the hard compound tyres. And someone who's fairly inexperienced, like Hoping Tung, got a good chance of getting caught out, especially with a really low downforce they're running this weekend.
Yeah, Rizzati looking like he's having a strong run as well. He's putting pressure now on Senna. And Senna is we saw him have that win earlier in the year in Barcelona, but has been, as with both of the Arden cars, it's been really a mixed year for them. Sometimes they've been right there, other times struggled. But it looks like Negrão maybe has got a bit of a problem, certainly losing a bit of pace there.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where once it starts to go wrong, we've got another car in the gravel, exactly the same place as Adam Carroll went off.
Is that Nakajima again?
It could be Nakajima again, couldn't it?
He's having a day of it, he's Kazuki, isn't he? Well, another man with a bit of Formula 1 experience, having tested for Williams a lot, one of their official test drivers.
Glock's gone past Chandok.
Yeah.
That puts Glock up into 5th place.
Now,
Fourth place,
yeah.
Wow.
Well, Filippi, what's the gap now between him and Filippi? We'll have a little look and see how far up the road they are. But Pantano, I think, has done just about enough. As you can see there, Rizzati coming through the pack now under a bit of pressure. Javi Villa has been a little bit up and down as well. 3 race wins already this year, Javi Villa, but not really working out as well as he would have hoped for this weekend.
Yeah, it's slightly deceptive, that, isn't it, with these 3 race wins, all 3 in the sprint race. I mean, your true pace is measured by your Friday qualifying performance. I'm sorry, and really hasn't quite cracked that, has he? He's okay, coming in and finishing 8th on the Saturday and starting from pole on the Sunday and winning the race, but it's not a true indicator of your real pace.
Well, half a second quicker Pantano was than Di Grassi on that last lap. Here we can see on board with Filippi. This is getting the move done on Negrão, I think, Gareth.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you can see a real good example of the slipstream there down this great big long straight at Monza. The car's approaching here with a slipstream, nudging about 200 mile an hour, about 197, 198. So certainly the fastest place on the calendar. There's a replay of Tung having his spin at the Roger chicane.
He looked like he stalled as well. Oh, hands up in the air. Very strange when you hear Hopin being interviewed, because he's been brought up in Holland, so he actually sounds Dutch when he's interviewed, but has Chinese parents, so very unusual accent that he's picked up. But there you can see
Javi Villa going to cross the run-off strips.
Yeah, Villa, as we said, is mixed form.
See again.
Is that happened again, or is that a replay?
Yeah, that's live again. Yeah.
Well, at least he's consistent. But coming back to the front now, the question is that can Glock close down Filippi to try and, I mean, if he can take a podium after being so far down early on in the race, that really is going to be a champions type drive. And what this does for the points, of course, significantly means that at the moment still Di Grassi is looking like he's going to take 8 points. And Glock is looking like he's going to take 5 points. So
well, it's damage limitation, isn't it, I think, from Glock's point of view. But soon at that last lap, then he lost a second on Filippi. The gap has opened up by a second, so he's not going quick enough at the moment, Glock.
No, but I think that would still be a solid result for him in terms.
It certainly would. It certainly would. But if he can get a podium, wow, that'd be fantastic.
Awesome stuff. I mean, he's really reliant on the others in front. They all sort of settled down into a bit of a rhythm. I think Pantano still has that pace. It really has been one of those days where Pantano's just looked like he's got everything working for him. The car's been quick in every circumstance. He's been able to drag out a single flying lap. He's been fast at the restarts. He timed his pit stop perfectly. So tactically and driving performance-wise, he's really just done everything that could be asked of him. Buemi trying to duke it out around the outside with Rizzati. Rizzati had a pretty good run so far today. Apart from that little spin we saw out of the safety car, that was the only blocked on his copybook. But him and Buemi now, well, Buemi, another one who's had a bit of an adventurous race today. Certainly, we know there's a lot of latent talent there, and the ART team put together one of the best GP2 cars in the business, but needs a little bit more consistency, really.
Yeah, I think he's still very young, isn't he? And also, don't forget, he's still doing 2 championships. He's still doing the F3 Euro Series, where he's lying second in the standings. So he's with a good chance of winning that. So juggling, as I said before, moving from F1 to GP2 and back is difficult, and the same applies GP2 to F3.
Well, he might actually add a 3rd championship to his draw as well, because we see Senna now having to just back out of that move there with Chandok. And Chandok's really starting to find some pace. He started fairly steadily, and Durango really struggled initially, but they seem to have really got the car working for him. Of course, a race winner with Piccioni in season 1 of GP2, so we know that Durango can put together a very good car. But yeah, Chandok has really started to show some pace of late.
Yeah, I mean, I drove for Durango, it was 10 years ago, actually, 97 I drove for Durango, and they do a reasonable job. I mean, they're not a front-running team, they're not an iSport or an ART or whatever, but they do a reasonable job, and I think Chandok's been impressive this year. I think he's stayed out of trouble for the most part and put a couple of good results in.
Yeah, now Niemöller having a good move there down the inside into the Ascari chicane. Young Finn, we talked about him earlier, having moved across from Formula Renault, so a big jump up. But a lot of car control this young man's got, as we expect to find with Finnish drivers. Seems to be consistent. And there's a bit of a pack following behind him now. Lapierre in amongst there again, another race winner this season at the start of the year in Bahrain. The Frenchman who's been a real talent, definitely got a lot of natural ability there, but has been so unfortunate. Looked odds on for a win at Manicourt before a braking problem put him out of the race. But here, coming back at him now, down the inside does Rizzati. It's not given up. Has he been able to do enough? Because there's those big lumps of curb in the middle of the section.
You want to stay off them, yeah.
Racing cars that run virtually zero ride height don't like that sort of thing, do they, Gary?
Well, you saw Senna go off earlier on the last lap, and yeah, sort of picked his way through them, and that's the right thing to do, because if you clump them, you can actually do a bit of damage to the car.
Now, a relatively long race here at Monza. As down the inside, he's not giving up. It's down the inside. The pair of them now benefiting from the new tarmac runoff, rather than that was gravel up at the end of this year, wasn't it? Last year, rather. They both came away relatively lightly from that, but that was it's a bit of a Formula Ford moment. That
it was a bit, wasn't it? Yeah. Don't mind the corner. It's just.
Yeah, it was basically you look at the other guy, and when he brakes, you brake later. But if he doesn't brake, then you're both in trouble, which looked like was what happened there that time. But you can't say enough about Pantano. He's just absolutely flawless. He's done everything you could expect. But Di Grassi has done a solid job as well. And Filippi, after a very, very exciting early part of the race, got into a rhythm. Glock now is definitely in a position where he's going to just consolidate that fourth to bring it home. And he's going to only be 1 point behind Di Grassi as a result of this.
Yeah, that's the real main thing, isn't it? As we said before, damage limitation. Is this Via going off? Not yet again at the first turn, is it?
Could be. I think
they're going across the curbs. There
we go. Could be another one.
Yeah,
or could be one of the many ones he's had so far.
Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think Glock now has got enough to go after Filippi. I mean, the gap to Filippi is a consistent 4 seconds.
Now, I wonder, with Via's obviously experienced enough and quick enough driver to know what he should be doing there. I wonder if he's maybe got some sort of a braking problem.
Certainly, this place is hard on brakes. You know, a lot of places you're coming from very high speed down to very low speed, and you haven't got the assistance of the aerodynamics to help you slow the car, so the brakes are actually working even harder than normal. So it's quite normal here to see cars, you know, with brake problems at this stage of the race, the sort of last 10 laps or so.
The Senna-Chanduk battle continues afoot, and both of them have driven really solid races here. Chanduk especially mentioning, because they, you know, started the race looking like he was going to just bring home some solid points, but now he's in a situation coming through that he's really starting to look like he's worthy of the position on merit, not just on having been fortuitous.
Yeah, talking of being there on merit, Pantano's just on a 31.8, which is fantastically quick. And his middle sector on this lap is also the quickest of the race. So he's a man on the mission at the moment. I mean, he's 2.5 seconds up the road from Di Grassi, so doesn't need to push particularly hard, but clearly making a point.
Well, also, I mean, obviously fuel load's come down now, so that's going to be a factor as to why the car's quicker towards this stage of the race. But having said that, they're on the harder tyres, so you'd think that at this stage you'd be just nursing the tyres, if anything.
Yeah, and nursing your position. I mean, there's no need to take a big risk, is there? In fact, that time round, he did another 31.5. Di Grassi could only manage a 32.6, so he opened up 1.1 seconds in one lap. Now,
Nakajima coming in with some very hot brake material, I think, there. But he's had an adventurous day, as sets out Kazuki. So we'll see if he can bring it home sensibly from there on in. So 4 laps to go, and Pantano is just reeling in the laps. Another fastest lap, 131.442. He's consistently over a second faster than Lucas Di Grassi in second. Filippi just behind that is a comfortable third. The first 4 drivers have basically spaced out neatly, and it's almost like Pantano is just out there just proving a point. It's just proving that I can just continually do these times.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to do it, as you said, Gareth.
He doesn't even, he's 5 seconds ahead, but he's clearly right in the groove, isn't he? I'm very, very happy with the car. And he's going to take a clean sweep of points. I mean, you get your points for pole, points for fastest lap, and maximum points for the race win. So, good day's work.
But it's going to put him a very comfortable third in the championship. And despite the fact that both Di Grassi and Glock will have scored good points today, it still means that there is an outside bet of him maybe sneaking up at the end. There's still, of course, 2 race meetings to go after this, and another race tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there is a chance. He's very much an outsider, but that's why he was so really very annoyed with Di Grassi at Istanbul, because Di Grassi took him out of the race, and Pantano felt if he could have scored good points there and he was in a reasonable position, he still was with a chance of winning the championship as well as Glock and Di Grassi are. And that's why he was so annoyed, because that really kind of made his task much, much harder.
Also, there's got to be a mindset. I'm sure he knew that Monza was coming next. If he could come away with some good points from Turkey, coming to this with momentum going then on to Spa, obviously. Next week it's going to be a very different sort of circuit, a very different challenge, and you know, consistency now at this stage of the season is what wins championships. We've seen the last 2 championships in GP2 go to the wire, firstly between Rosberg and Kovalainen, and then last year of course between Piquet Jr. and Hamilton, and you sometimes do get the sense of momentum working for certain drivers, and Pantano certainly had that going for him up until that then.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And obviously the closeness of the championship, it's fantastic for the viewer and for us, the neutral. But it's really helped by the format of the series, whereby after race 1 the top 8 get rotated, so you can't have somebody out there winning race after race after race. You know, if they win race 1, well, they're back on 8th place on the grid for race 2. So it ensures it's always mixed up, and it really stops anybody from making a clean break in the championship.
Of course, nobody this year has won both races, which is significant really, and that begs the question. And Pantano did that this race last year, winning both races. Now with the pace that he's clearly got, assuming he can make the best of staying out of trouble. Of course, no stops in the sprint race tomorrow. As you see, Di Grassi now. Is he? Yeah. Now we talked a bit earlier about Via having braking problems. I wonder if that's the situation. Yeah. No lock-up. It's almost like a long pedal, mate.
Exactly what happened there is he's got a long pedal. He's just pushed, and the brakes really have had enough now. 2 laps to go. They've just cried enough. And that's why I'm surprised Pantano's pushing so very hard. He doesn't need to, you know, and brake issues can just arrive like that. There's not necessarily a warning it's going to happen. So there really is, with a comfortable lead Pantano's got, there's no need to be putting in the times he's doing.
Well, the last 3 laps have been, each one has been 1/10 of a second quicker. So he did 32.5, 32.4, 32.3, and well, now that's Di Grassi now. Very slow. This is significant because Glock surely is going to get the place.
Unbelievable. Well, that clearly is not a brake issue. That's a transmission issue.
Now I wonder then, perhaps maybe it was a gearbox problem that was causing him. He couldn't get down through the gears, and that's maybe why he overrun. And now perhaps the hydraulics or the electronics. Now you talked earlier. You said there has been some reliability issues with gearboxes, even though the guys with the GP2 organisation have worked very hard to change the ratios, to come up with a different set of gears available for the drivers. But now suddenly he seems to have found a gear again. So that's why I wonder if it's maybe electronics.
Yeah, it could be, as you said, electronics or hydraulics, that indicates, because suddenly he had nothing, and all of a sudden he's got it all back again.
He could have maybe even switched it off and switched it on again. Sometimes something that's
reset the software.
Yeah, it resets. It's like rebooting your computer. Now Filippi comes out and thinks, "Thank you very much. I'll have that." It's going to be an all-Italian victory celebration if things go as they stand at the moment. Let's not jinx Pantano and Di Grassi, and Glock's going to come away with the podium, Gareth.
Yeah, and not that, but also the fact that his main rival's going to get no points.
Well, let's see, where is this going to put Di Grassi at the moment? It looks likely he's going to be out of the points. Certainly he lost so much time there. It was fairly spaced out, as you see now Timo Glock coming through to start the final lap. Of course, Pantano and Filippi are well up the road now and gone. So Glock's just going to bring it home. He's surely mindful of what he's been seeing in terms of just nursing it now.
There's some irony there, isn't there? Given the problems Glock's had all year with mechanical bad luck, there's some irony that Di Grassi should stumble and fall with the championship so close.
Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that the qualifying didn't really go very well at all for either of the iSport drivers. Poor Andy Zuber, obviously, we saw caught up in that accident early on with Soucek. Totally not of his doing, but certainly neither of the cars seemed to really have as much pace as they would have hoped. Both of the iSport cars and the double fingers crossed there on the pit wall there. Campos team there, praying and praying and praying. Well, see, Latin temperament is prevalent everywhere, Gareth, isn't it?
Di Grassi's dropped a 13th look overall, so he's completely out of the points, and also way down the grid for tomorrow as well, more importantly perhaps.
That's going to be very significant. It means that Timo Glock at the moment is going to be starting 6th on the grid tomorrow, and most importantly, he's going to go away having extended his championship lead.
Just goes to show, doesn't it? Just when it all appears lost, it all appears to be going wrong, but you can change just like that.
Absolutely, you've got to hand it to this guy. That is as dominant a performance as we've seen all season.
Oh yeah,
and that
fantastic.
Is awesome stuff. Giorgio Pantano crosses the line at Monza to win the feature race here for round 9 of GP2. Absolutely dominant performance. Safety car periods didn't affect his situation. He just got his head down and drove away from the competition, and that man there, Timo Glock, is going to be absolutely delighted with Well, we looked at him early in the race. He was sitting at one point. He was down in 18th position.
He was.
And a combination of some very, very astute tactical driving, not taking unnecessary risks, nursing the car, and most importantly, being there when it mattered.
Yeah, very impressive. But as you said, Pantano, without a question, driver of the day. What a fantastic performance. And a full clean sweep of points as well. Pole, win, fastest lap. Utterly dominant.
Well, it means that he came into the event before this race here with 36 points, 1 point behind Filippi. So that means it's going to put him well ahead of Filippi. Nakajima, he will have dropped out because he didn't score any points either. We'll have a look at some points in just a moment and see exactly what that's done for it. But Di Grassi has brought it home, so it was clearly an intermittent problem that was either electrical or hydraulic to do with what appeared to be either an engine or a transmission problem. Certainly by the fact that he went straight on at the chicane, that's what kind of led me to come to the assumption it perhaps was a gearbox issue, Gareth.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You do need the gearbox to help slow the car down. It's not just the brakes that slow the car, it's also the gearbox that does its bit as well.
Also, as you were saying, at this stage of the race, the gear, you're going to be nursing your brakes, so there might be a tendency for some drivers to use a little bit more of the engine braking, the gearbox braking to slow the car, perhaps.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe out of necessity, because the brakes are going away. But, well, here's a little prediction for tomorrow then, Gareth. Do you think Pantano can come through to win again?
Well, we saw the quality of his start was fantastic today. He got an absolutely corking start, didn't he? Way better than anyone else. And he did exactly that last year. And then from the sprint race last year, he actually led into turn one. He got such a good start on the Sunday morning, so no reason why not. He's got his starts together. The car is working very well. He's very confident. Well, could be a repeat.
It could be indeed, couldn't it? So Pantano, Filippi, Glock, Bruno Senna, a solid drive into fourth, just holding off Karan Chanda. That was a good result for the Indian driver, just as we heard that Indian organisation have just bought into a Formula 1 team. That could do him some favours. Via Buemi, despite the dramas, is going to be on the front row tomorrow, but Riccardo Rosati, the Argentinian driver, will start from pole position. Niemela, Lapierre struggling a little bit, but driving a solid drive through to 10th. Tahinchian, Petrov after that pit stop drama, and Nakajima, well, just dramatic basically, wasn't he, Gareth?
He was value for money, wasn't he, today, old Nakajima? And Filippi too, to be fair. He got involved in some good scraps and made it a thoroughly memorable race.
Not a good day for the British drivers. Carroll and Conway caught up in that accident at the start, as was Zhao. Garcia going off as a result of some damage on the front wing. Zuba getting caught up when Susek spun in front of him, but a dramatic race, a fantastic performance by Giorgio Pantano, and it is going to be very, very interesting to see whether he can do the same tomorrow. So Pantano will start from 8th position at a circuit where he has been just stunningly quick. 35.1 was the fastest lap of the race, which, well, when you look at 30.3 was the fastest lap of the race, and it's going to be exciting. Monza in Italy, we'll see another race. It will be a sprint race tomorrow. Rosati on pole, but watch this man, Pantano.